Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Unit B, Chapter 1, and basically the title of this chapter is Aamul, the Year of the Elephant. Now, I want to first start off by talking about what is so important about the Al-Kaaba. Can you guys raise your hand and tell me what's so important about the Al-Kaaba? Yeah. Yeah, you raising your hand? Alright. Do you know what's important about the Al-Kaaba? Yeah. Okay, so basically she's saying two main things. These are the two main things I want you to know. One, it's the first place of worship on earth, right? It was first created by Prophet Adam alayhi salam, then it was reconstructed by Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail, right? That's another story that you'll probably learn in the future. But as of right now, just know that Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail rebuilt it, and then it was further built upon by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when there was like some mini flood that happened later in the year. So that's one important part. And the second most important part is that we pray in that direction. Right? We pray 5 times a day. We pray as Muslims in the direction of the Al-Kaaba because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to pray in that direction. And I want to add this also, a lot of people visit that. It's the most sacred place on earth, right? People go there for Umrah. People go there for Hajj, right? Millions and millions of people are gathered, unified by this religion, right? Yeah? Oh, that's good, right? I also went Umrah, I think last year.
Medina and Makkah.
Medina, Makkah, yeah. Most people, they go to, I don't know, did you go to Medina before or Makkah first?
Makkah and then I go to Medina.
Yeah, so for me, I actually went to Medina first, visited the Prophet's Mosque, and then I visited Makkah because you also have to wear the
the towel thing, right?
Yeah, the 2 towels, the attire for Umrah, right? You have to wear that out of the boundary. So we wore that, let's say, like near Masjid al-Nabi, right? And then we'll go to Makkah. Because once you enter that boundary, I forgot what it's called, but then you're in the state of, you're basically in the state of being in Umrah. So you can't, mess up. Al-Safa and Marwa is the 2 mountains, right? Then you go back to... Yeah, I went on a bus. No, not a bus. I went on a van, right? It was like a big van. I went on a van. A lot of people go on a bus if they're going in like a group of people, right? So if they're going with a group of people, and sometimes I think most of them they do that in Hajj. You think about it, a lot of people go to Makkah for Hajj, right? It's a lot of people. So to accommodate that like overnight thing, they have to use like transportation, a lot of transportation to basically go from Medina to Makkah. Again, yeah, obviously, because you got a place to stay. Alright, so that's basically, what are we saying here? We're basically saying that Al-Kaaba is a very sacred place, even to this day, right? A lot of people go there, and it's the same thing back then. Although there is one important thing I need to touch on, is that even though Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail did stress how there was one God, and he deserves to be worshipped, over time, people lost that message and they started putting idols, unfortunately, into the Al-Kaaba. People thought that by worshiping the by worshiping the idols, they would ultimately find a way to pass this, please. They would ultimately find a way to basically to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they thought by going to the idols, they will go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, but that's not really the point as of right now. My goal is to try to say how important is the Al-Kaaba. It's pretty darn important, right? Most sacred place on earth, right? And for a lot of people and a lot of good reasons. And there was this guy, yes? Make it quick, yeah. Alrighty, so there's this guy in Yemen. Now that's south of Saudi Arabia, or like Old Arabia that they might refer to in the textbook, right? And it was ruled by a bad man named Abraham. And he was a leader of Yemen at the time, and he basically saw the Al-Kaaba as like this, like people, a lot of people were going there. Alright, so he was kind of jealous actually. He was like, oh, why are a lot of people going here? Right? He wanted to get some of that attention too. You know, like you feel me? Like a lot of people are going there. You know, let's bring them here. Let's bring them to Yemen because you know there's like a bit of an economical aspect to it. Like where the people go is where the money goes. You know. So a lot of people were going to Saudi Arabia, rather going to Al-Kaaba, right? And he wanted that people coming here. So, but what did Abraham do? He built a church, and it was a pretty nice church, you know. He built it with a lot of money, with a lot of labor, with a lot of capital, and basically he created it with, you know, a lot of resources. It takes a lot of time to build such a massive structure, but people were not going to the church. Why do you think they're not going to church? Because, well, the Al-Kaaba has a history, right? First place of worship on earth. Pretty important to to a lot of people at that time, right? For them, it's the closest they can get on earth to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But this church is like simply there as like a monument to the what is it? Abraham's like, I guess, rule. Like he only made it so that people would come to him. He made it for selfish reasons. Whereas the Al-Kaaba, it's the place of worship. Not a place of worship, the place of worship. Right? So he was pretty jealous that people were not going. He spent all this time, all this labor, all this money, and nobody was coming to his church. And what further made him mad was when a bunch of Arabs actually did visit his church and then ruined a part of it. They broke some parts of it, and that made him like really mad. That is what he called the last straw. For him, he was already at like a 9, right? He was already mad at a 9, right? 9 out of 10, he was like pretty mad, right? But then that like, you know, people disrespecting his church threw him from like a 9 to like 100 out of like 10. That's like ridiculous. Like now he's like jealous as hell, and now he's like getting jealous. Like he's mad, he's angry. Shaitan is taking advantage of him, right? And when we see this, remember from the story of Habil and Qabil. Qabil was very jealous at Habil because Allah was basically blessing Habil, and even though he was being lazy, even though the problem was within Habil, he blamed his problems on Habil. And what did Habil do? Kill him. He eliminated him. He tried to eliminate him.
He was trying to sacrifice him?
No, he did not sacrifice him. Sacrifice is not what you think it means, by the way. Alright? He killed him. Sacrifice is doing something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Did he kill Habil for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, he killed him for the sake of jealousy, right? So, that's what sacrifice means. And we go back. Abraham was jealous, so what did he try to do? He wanted to eliminate the Al-Kaaba. So what did he do? He brought a bunch of soldiers. He brought a bunch of elephants. And now what do you think about elephants? Elephants are like these big creatures. A lot of people don't realize this. Elephants take a lot of room.
Yes.
Right? They're big. They're fat. They're muscular. Right? They can break through things.
What does muscular mean?
Strong. It means strong. Muscular means strong. Right? You can break through things. Alright? So basically the elephants are there to destroy structures, to through a rampage throughout the city of Makkah, where I know they didn't. Now you gotta remember, don't jump ahead. Don't jump ahead, okay? So, he gathered a huge army, a bunch of huge elephants, and then he went to Makkah. Now, when he reached Makkah, he didn't just immediately enter Makkah, right? He stopped outside Makkah. It's like, alright, let's chill for a second, alright? Let's chill for a second, alright? Let's chill. Right? And then he sent a bunch of soldiers into Makkah to see what it's all about, what's going on, you know, do some like precursor to the attack, like, you know, let's do the attack before the attack, the pre-show before the show. And basically, while the soldiers were there, they took some of the herds, they took some of the camels of the people of Makkah, people that they owned, the people, the property of the people of Makkah, right? Yes, question, only question. No, alright, I'm gonna save that for later. What? Yeah, it's good, I know that. Everyone knows this. By the end of the story, everyone will know that. Alright, so, basically, the soldiers came back with a bunch of these camels that they stole from the people of Makkah. They also stole herds, right? And then Abdul Muttalib, who was the leader of Makkah at the time, right? Make sure this is very important. Abdul Muttalib was the leader of Makkah at the time. Right, so him and a bunch of his sons, they actually came out of Makkah, right? So he first warned the people of Makkah, hey, let's evacuate the city as of right now, right? He told them that's what because there's a potential attack coming, right? And then the second thing was that he went to Abraham himself. And Abraham, he was like, all right, he's the leader of Makkah. I got this huge army. I got a bunch of elephants that can destroy the whole city on my command. He's probably going to be here to tell me that please don't attack me. Please don't attack the city. Save us, right? But to his surprise, Abdul Muttalib didn't ask that. Abdul Muttalib told him, hey, can we get our camels? Can we get our herds back? Right? And the quote is here, I am the owner of the camels, so I protect them, while Al-Kaaba has a Lord who will protect it. So he's like, all right, I own the camels, I own the herds, my people own some of their camels, my people own the herds, and we are basically tasked with protecting it because that's our property. But the Al-Kaaba is not their property, even though it's on the land of Makkah, even though it's in Makkah and Abdul Muttalib is the leader of Makkah, right? He does not own the Al-Kaaba. Nobody owns the Al-Kaaba. The Al-Kaaba is for everybody. Everybody can come. Everybody can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who owns the Al-Kaaba? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it's Allah's home. It's not my home, right? Sorry, let me rephrase that, right? Because some people, it is a home. It is actually a home, right? Because, well, it's a place of worship, right? So it's basically my vision that if I were to go there, I'm going to get as close to Allah as possible. If that's how you define home, then yes, it is your home as well. But you also have to realize, it's not that you own it, right? It's not yours. The Al-Kaaba is not yours, right? You don't own it. You can't modify it, right? You can't tell people to not worship there. You can't tell people not to there, because that's not your jurisdiction. That's not your decision. That's Allah's decision. And Allah's decision was people to worship there, right? Because, well, we find out later that he changes the direction of the prayer from Masjid al-Aqsa to the Al-Kaaba. So now, to this day, we actually pray towards the Al-Kaaba instead of the other masjid, because Allah gave that order. So Abdul Muttalib, he had what you call Iman. Iman is faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's an important word because that is literally one half of my class. My class is Iman in history, right? Iman in history, not just history, Iman in history. So Abdul Muttalib had Iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is basically the guardian of his mosque, right? He was going to protect it because he is the Lord. It is his mosque that people come to worship him. So Abraham, he lacked Iman. He didn't care, right? He was jealous, and he was not going to let anything stop him. But that's one flaw of him, right? We do know who stops him, and ultimately it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he's like, no one can stop me from destroying the Al-Kaaba. No one can destroy. But Abdul Muttalib is like, all right, Ya Allah, please protect the Al-Kaaba, right? Protect it from Abraham from destroying the Al-Kaaba. So the next morning, Abraham is like, all right. He told the elephants to run towards the Al-Kaaba, destroy anything in its path, and if an elephant runs, if a bunch of elephants and a bunch of people with swords and shields and everything, right, run through it, it's gonna probably wreak havoc. You're gonna destroy a good portion, or if not all, of the city, right? But for some reason, the elephants ran the other direction. They ran away. Now, these elephants were trained to follow the orders of Abraham. That's how they were trained. Trained animals, right? They follow orders. They do things that their owner, or rather someone that owns them, possesses them. Yeah, tamed. That's the good word. That they're tamed to follow orders. So when it's given an order, it will execute that order. It will do that. So they were trained to do that. They were tamed to do that. But when they were given the order to destroy the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the elephants ran in the other direction. And do you know why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the elephants the order to not destroy the Al-Kaaba, to run away in the other direction. And the elephants, who know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the true God, who know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are going to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're going to execute His orders because they were given that order from God Himself, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has supreme jurisdiction over the elephant, right? And Allah is the all-controlling in that case. So the elephants basically refused to destroy the Al-Kaaba. They refused to destroy the Al-Kaaba. Right? So Abraham and his army are left there like, wait, what are we going to do now? All right, let's run. Let's try to destroy it. But Allah's like, no, we're not going to do that. Right? Allah ordered a bunch of birds to carry a bunch of stones. Now think about it. Stones that are heavy stones, sharp stones, made out of like metallic or cement material. Right? Think about like bullets, for example, metallic material that is sharp. A little thing can like basically sear through anything.
A diamond?
Yeah. What? Yeah, a diamond's like one of the sharpest.
A diamond?
Alright, so what I'm trying to say is that it's a heavy thing. Alright, raise your hand. Anyway, so Allah ordered a bunch of birds to carry a bunch of these stones, and then all these birds started dropping it. And they started dropping it over the army, and then the army is getting injured. Abraham got injured, and they're basically defeated on the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, it's very important to talk about this because there's a bunch of lessons attached to it. So one important lesson is having Iman. Iman is very important because having faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes?
Aamul also means, right? Aamul?
What do you mean?
Aamul is a bird.
Alright, we'll get to that later. Anyway, so he had Iman. Abdul Muttalib had Iman, and we should have Iman. We should have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will protect us, that He is the God, and He knows what's best for us, because by worshiping Him, by obeying Him, we will go to the right path. We will eventually find us with Him on the Day of Judgment, as well as in Jannah. And the second thing is it also talks about like a punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You also have to realize that, remember from the story of like Prophet Noah, right? The great flood that wiped the entire earth of all the disbelievers and only left the believers and two of each animal on earth, right? And what did we say about that punishment? What we did say was that even though it was a great flood and it basically wiped out all the disbelievers, their deaths, or rather their punishment on earth, was nothing close to what they're going to receive in Jahannam, because Jahannam is infinitely times worse. The same case applies here, right? Allah is just showing what He can bring on earth, but this punishment on earth, right? He's simply providing a message. It's only for the purpose of having a message, and that message is to worship Him. Because if you don't, the punishment in Jahannam is infinitely times worse. And if you worship Him, if you obey Him, if you're a good person, donate to charity, do good things, be nice, smile to your friends, right? By just being a general good person, you'll be on the right path, you'll have a good life, a happy life, and ultimately, you'll be with Him eventually. And that's basically the lesson for Unit B, Chapter 1. And I want to just end it with the surah. It's on the page B10. Surah Al-Fil, it's a 5-ayah surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم نجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. Alright, and the translation of that is the first ayah, didn't you know how your Lord dealt with the people of the elephant? Second ayah, didn't He ruin their evil plan? Third ayah, and He sent against them birds and flocks. Ayah 4, striking them with stones of hard clay. And in ayah 5, and He made them like Eden straw. Again, Allah in His own words in terms of Arabic. Remember, Quran is written in the Quran is Allah's words in the language that He transferred it to Angel Jibreel, and then Angel Jibreel bring it to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Allah is basically saying that didn't He ruin Abraham's evil plan, and He basically destroyed their plan, and how He was going to punish them not only on this planet, not only on this earth for being a bad person, right? But He's going to be punished in Jahannam for being a bad ruler and having or listening to Shaitan. Alrighty, and that's the lesson for today. Yeah.
Like you know how that, right?
What's a Bible?